It appeared UNC's biggest target in the class of 2026 was slipping away, but now the tables might have turned. We're on Dylan Mingo Watch.
This is David Noel, and you're listening to Locked On Tar Heels.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It's Wednesday, February 4th, 2026. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Schade. You're joining me at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked On Network, now the #1 sports podcast network out there. Thanks for making us your first listen to get this Wednesday going the right way, or your first watch. So glad to be with you. Special shout out to all our everydayers, all the members of the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, and our insiders as well. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel this season. If you're a new customer, just bet $5, and if you win, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets back. Bonus bets back, baby. Coming up on the show today here midweek, got a little bit of some recruiting talk because Carolina, who already has one commit in the class of 2026, Maximo Adams, some updates on him in segment 2, might be back in line for a commit that I thought was slipping through their fingers like the sands of time. We'll update you on that. Dylan Mingo going on. And also, since we're now into February and also at the midway point for the Tar Heels of ACC play, I want to just take a kind of state of the union in terms of where things at. Is Carolina in a good spot? How are things looking for the NCAA tournament, for the ACC tournament, and all of that? So we'll do that to wrap the show coming up a little bit later. Let's get back to some recruiting, though. Dylan Mingo Watch on Monday. You know how like the White House or news people or like we'll do like a Friday drop, like a Friday afternoon news dump. That's it. When people are not paying attention because now it's the weekend, everybody's trying to get home. And so sometimes like universities will do it, or sports teams, when they've just got stuff that they're like, hopefully people will blow by it and then it'll fizzle out over the weekend. They dump. And I felt like that's what happened here on Monday. It's like an hour before Carolina Syracuse tips off, and 247 Sports puts in a brand new crystal ball for Dylan Mingo to North Carolina. Yeah, let's go. This is great news for the Tar Heels. His recruitment has felt so oddly back and forth. I remember talking about him, man, like back before Christmas at some point, and being like hopeful at that point, but then the tide kind of turned some. And so, man, yes, 247 has put in this crystal ball. Interestingly, it's not one specific person. It's like their panel of experts. And so I guess that you can put more stock in that because it's a variety of people pouring into that. But because the recruitment has been so back and forth, I'm not ready to claim or celebrate anything yet until the dude commits and signs on the dotted line. Because again, North Carolina had all sorts of noise early. He narrowed down to a Final Four of Carolina, Baylor, Penn State, and Washington. And yes, that's a little bit of everywhere. And this guy, I mean, he's from New York. So a little bit all over the place. But part of it is Penn State makes a lot of sense because that's where his brother is. His brother Kayden is a freshman playing at Penn State right now. He's very good himself, oh, by the way. And then there was a crystal ball by Travis Branham, no less, who's like one of the main dudes for 247's recruiting. He crystal balled Mingo to Baylor. And at that point, I thought it was done. I thought it was over. I thought he was going to Waco, and it's like, all right, got to turn the page, find another guard. But then last week or a week or two ago, 247 removed that, which tells you new intel has emerged. Either Mingo is cooling on Baylor, or he's got new news that's allowing other teams to make up some ground. So here was what the timeline. He was supposed to announce his commitment on Thursday, January 22nd. So like 2 weeks ago from tomorrow. But then that Tuesday, January 20th, it was reported by Travis Branham that Mingo was going to be pushing it back and he would not commit that day. And at that point, Branham said, hey, we expect him to commit by the end of this month. Well, that's come and gone because now we're into February, right? So when are you going to commit, Dylan Mingo? That's what we all want to know. We're sitting here waiting on pins and needles, and we want to hear something. There's no new firm update, no new timeline of when it's going to be. So it could be any day now. It could be he's going to reset a timer. Now he could just like drop it whenever. As for Mingo and kind of what he's got going, as a reminder, he's a 6'5" guard, 195 pounds. He plays at Long Island Lutheran up in Long Island, New York. At rankings wise, at Rivals / on 3, he's second in the nation behind only Tyron Stokes. He's 8th at 247. He's 9th at ESPN. And so poor guy has dealt with some injuries this high school season, but they believe in all these rankings, believe in his body of work and keep him where he is at. There's been a lot of noise, I think, with the Carolina fan base because Duke is once again landing like 8 gajillion 4- and 5-star players, including Darren Rippey, who is like essentially the other best guard in the class. But at least as it sits right now, and who knows how it will play out next year, if I could have one or the other, I want Mingo. He's the more highly rated of the two, and so I'll take that, right? So it seems like, if you're asking me, Isaac, how is this going to play out? From what I can tell and from my research and talking to people, it seems like Washington is kind of out of the picture. Seems like Penn State has lost ground. And with Baylor losing that crystal ball, you don't just put in a crystal ball and then pull it for no reason. So again, I think there's something to that. Now, there's a rumor that Arkansas and John Calipari have gotten into the game with it, and his reputation with guards, so that's dangerous. But I'm really hopeful that Carolina can land him. And look, let's ask this question too. If Carolina lands Dylan Mingo, is Kayden, his brother, going to stay at Penn State, or does he want to come along for the ride too? Because we'll take you. Kayden, that would not be the worst thing. And so you think about the backcourt next year, obviously, there'll be some departures, some out of necessity. Like Seth has no eligibility left. I wouldn't be surprised if another guard or two transferred. That's just this day and age. But you add Mingo, if he commits, to Derek Dixon, and then you got a backcourt that's got a couple 6'5" dudes. Luka Bogavac, if he stays, Jarin Stevenson now on the wing or at the 4, Jonathan Powell mixing it up. Maybe Kyan Evans stays. Does he tape a leak? Take a leap. Isaiah Denis, I think he will take a big jump into next year. Jaydon Young has still eligibility to be around. So literally there's a lot of possibility there. Mingo could come in and be great and be really helpful for Carolina. Now, as I've said, Mingo would be the second player in the class of 2026 to commit to North Carolina, joining Maximo Adams, who was, by the way, just named a McDonald's All-American. We'll talk about that, remind you about Maximo Adams and all that coming up in just a second.
I'm Kalia Butler, host of Locked On Women's Basketball, and this is Mazda's Women's Basketball Snapshot, celebrating the work no highlight reel can ever capture. Number 1 ranked UConn dominated Tennessee 96-66, turning a halftime tie into a historic win and avenging last season's loss by delivering the largest margin in the rivalry's history. AZ Fudd had 27 points and Sarah Strong added 26 as the Huskies remain perfect on the season, reminding everyone why they are the reigning national champions. In the Big Ten, number 2 UCLA rolled past number 8 Iowa 88-65, powered by 22 points from Angela Dukelich and a huge advantage in the paint, staking their claim as a national threat. These moments are earned off the clock, those long before the lights ever come on. The sweat, the fakes, the doubt, the scrapes, and coming back for more every time. Mazda puts that same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work, that defines you. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you.
Thanks for making Locked On Tar Heels your first listener watch of the day and making Locked On Network the #1 sports podcast network out there. I truly, genuinely thank you. It's because of all of you that are here with us that becomes a reality. Now, if you want to get even more involved, I want to encourage you to check out our Everydayer Club. There's two different tiers of it, an opportunity to get more involved with the show. You get all these various perks depending on which tier you choose. A great way to be even more involved with Locked On Tar Heels. Check it out. That link's in the show notes. All right. So we're on Dylan Mingo Watch. Hopefully he's going to commit. That would be great. Again, we don't know when and what that's going to look like, but we'll take it, man. As a reminder, the Tar Heels do already have another commit in this class. And it's not just some Joe Schmo. It is another high-level commit, Maximo Adams. And what's cool is our guy Max just got named this week to the McDonald's All-American game for this year. On Tuesday, I saw a lot of conversation on social media from some other college basketball people talking about like the McDonald's All-American game process needs to be relooked at because there's quite a few of other elite players that didn't make it. Like, I don't think Dylan Mingo made the McDonald's All-American game as a consensus top 10 player. Like, what are we doing? You know? So there's kind of some weird stuff there, but Maximo Adams is named to it. Congrats, man. That's incredible stuff. Also on the women's side, remember Kate Harpring, Matt Harpring's daughter, is committed to North Carolina. She's like 4th in the class at ESPN. I think she's pretty consensus top 5 at all of the sites. But she got named to the McDonald's All-American game too. Congrats, Kate. That's awesome stuff. Proud of both Maximo and Kate for doing that. As a reminder with Maximo, he rankings wise 19th at Rivals /On3. They've just come out with a new set of rankings, by the way. 247 and ESPN. He's 25th at both of those. So top 25 level player, like 4-star kind of thing. He bioblast wise, he's 6'7", 215 pounds. So a little bit taller, not a, kind of an undersized big, but plays big, 215, plays his high school basketball at Sierra Canyon, like where Bronny James went. And so that's where he is out in California right now. What I like about this class, if Mingo commits to Carolina too, is you've got this guard and you've got this power forward, right? You're diversifying what you are getting some. So I like that balance that these two guys bring. And I know there's always concern about Carolina getting enough. There's never enough. You got to stockpile and all that. But remember, in this day and age, you want to just take a little bit out of each pot. So I would love to get these two players out of the high school ranks, sprinkle in a transfer or two to fill gaps as needed, sprinkle in an international player or two to fill gaps as needed, right? Like that feels like it's become a viable, consistent option now and something that Jim Tanner has said he wants to do. So I think you definitely try to do that, right? And I think part of it too is it's hard to know the truth of this, but it feels to me as we sit here on February 4th, like Carolina is going to have more pieces return next year. Unlike this year where it was Seth and James Brown and Jaydon High. That was it. That was the only guys at a scholarship player level that had ever competed for North Carolina before. So really just Seth, if we're being honest, with all due respect to Jaydon and James, who just haven't played a prominent role in the rotation in either of their years. So I would expect you're going to hang on to more guys than you did this year. Obviously Seth is gone. But he's the only one that has to leave from an eligibility standpoint. Of course, we're all assuming Caleb Wilson is going to leave. He's a consensus top 5 pick in the draft right now. Everywhere I look, he's top 5. And so as Coach Smith, as Coach Williams would say, dude, you cannot stay. If you are going to get drafted in the top 5 of this draft, oh, by the way, where you got Cam Boozer and Darren Peterson and AJ DeBanta and Michael Brown and Koa Pete and Braden Burries and Keaton Wagler, the kid out at Stanford, Ibuka Okore. I mean, there are so many crazy talented freshmen. And Caleb is being considered widely as one of the top 5. And as the saying goes, I don't think it's 5. Really, really cool for Caleb. So yes, he's going to be gone. Those two to me are the definites that will be out the door. Seth because he's out of eligibility, Caleb because you got to go. And that's great for Carolina's recruiting. Oh, by the way, Caleb comes to Carolina and turns into a top 5 pick. I mean, he was already up there, considered lottery, but to be a surefire, bona fide top 5 pick, no. I mean, some people might have had that, but not the consensus. Now, anyone and everyone else could be back next season. Will they all be back? No, that's just not how it goes in this day and age. The other person I'm most keeping my eye on to see what's going to happen is Henri Veesaar. Because with what he's stepped in and started doing, he's now getting a lot of NBA draft buzz too. I'm always kind of keep my eye on mock drafts and things of that, big boards and things of that nature. Henri right now is 39th at Tankathon. So that would be a top 10 second round pick. But all of the other mock drafts that I've looked at, he's late first round, anywhere from 23 to 28. He's 28 at no ceilings. That's our draft guys here on the Locked On Network. They do a great job. You should check out their show. They've got him 28th, but NBA Draft.net has him 23rd. He's 24th at USA Today, 26th elsewhere. So, like it or not, and I don't, but it's good. It's ultimately good for Carolina. I just got to remember that. But this crazy talented front court that Carolina has, the starters anyway, they could lose both of them. Caleb is almost a guarantee. Henri, it just depends on what he wants to do. If he's a late first round or early second round pick, maybe he wants to come back and try to improve that stock one more time, which I would love. I would love for him to come back. But if it's his time to go and the money's right and the draft pick slot is right where he has a guarantee, then he can't. He can't stay. He needs to go while the going's good because you never know. And that grieves me. Selfishly, I always want to keep all these guys around. But if it's Henry's time to go, it's Henry's time to go. And that's that. Outside of that, I would imagine Jarin Stevenson sticks around as part of the front court. He's got another year. But if Caleb and Henri are both gone, you have Maximo. You hopefully have Jarin. I would think, and I would think you would want to add another dynamic front court piece in the transfer portal at that point. Because you don't know what you're going to have with Adams. You don't know what you're going to have with Brown or High or Matlekovic. Jarin, you know what you got, but is he a consistent starter in the front court for North Carolina? Ooh, that's a tough question. Right now, I would say no. Like, I like him starting, but at the 3. And right now, I don't want him there because Carolina needs him as the backup to Caleb and Henri. So anyway, I say all that to say I'm projecting that I would love for Carolina to add at least one more front court piece to Maximo Adams, not even through the high school ranks, through transfer portal or international. That's what I would love to see. So we'll see how all that's going to play out. But Maximo Adams in the fold. Hopefully Dylan Mingo is as well. Man, that would be great. And we'd feel good and probably set with our high school recruiting for this cycle. Then you can firmly turn your attention to 27 at that point. All right, North Carolina, exactly at the midway point of SEC. Boy, that is Freudian. Wow. Of ACC play, having played 9 games, they're 6-3. How are things looking? We'll answer that question coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about TurboTax. Look, tax season doesn't have to take over your life, you guys, because this year TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and then move on with your day. Doesn't that sound glorious? Yeah. With TurboTax Full Service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. So instead of spending hours trying to figure out all the crazy forms, you can meet with a local TurboTax expert in person, or you can connect with them online. And they're going to handle everything for you, from W-2s to self-employed forms and everything else. And they're going to work to get you every deduction possible. You can upload your documents, you go about your day. And what's cool is you're going to get real-time updates right there in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver, gives you real peace of mind knowing that an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in if a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year. All you got to do is file by February 28th. So take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. This episode's also brought to you by FanDuel. Y'all, it is the last call for football on FanDuel for this season. One final Sunday, one final kickoff, the last chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of all the action just in time for the biggest game of the year. So whether you're backing the favorite Seahawks, or maybe you're wanting to ride with the underdog Patriots, or you're wanting to build one last same game parlay for football season, man, this is the game that everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays and stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels massive. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff all the way to the final whistle. And by the way, if you're a new customer, you can bet just $5, and if it wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. Super Bowl line is holding at 4.5-point favorite for the Seahawks. Man, if you believe in Drake May to, heck, at least stay within that number, go ahead and get in on this action and make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Man, it's hard to believe it, but the Tar Heels are at the midway point of ACC play, meaning they've only got 9 regular season games left. Can you believe that? Like, it feels, I know the college basketball season is long, starting early November. And if you make it to the Final Four, going all the way through early April, December, January, February, March, April. That's 5 months long. But here we are, 9 regular season games left. Carolina's played 9 ACC games already. So what I wanted to do was just take a little look in and see how they're doing and what's ahead, where things sit with bracketology and Bubble Watch and all of that kind of stuff as well. So Carolina right now is sitting at 6-3. And every team in the ACC has at least 9 games played. Some have 10. Remember, Carolina has already had 2 off weeks. And so now they're just going to play every Saturday and every midweek from now until the end of the regular season. So buckle up, be ready for that. It is going to be what they do. Now, Carolina, in those 6 wins, it's nice to be 6-3, but when you start looking at who the wins and losses are against, it's telling. Other than the win at Virginia, which is huge and massive, and the biggest win on Carolina's resume so far, unless they can take care of business Saturday, that'd be really nice. But they beat Virginia, who is tied for 3rd in the ACC. But their other 5 ACC wins, Syracuse, who's 11th, Florida State, who's 12th, and then Georgia Tech, Notre Dame, and Wake, who right now are all tied for 14th in the conference standings. So it's not exactly a murderer's row other than Virginia. The 3 losses are to Cal and SMU, who right now are tied for 9th, and Stanford, who's tied for 12th. So not only are the wins against other than Virginia just kind of teams, the losses are too. What does that mean? Carolina's got a tough schedule ahead of them for these final 9 games, and that is accurate. Per ESPN Analytics, Carolina has the hardest remaining schedule in the entire ACC. Now, a lot of that is attributed to the fact that they're the only team that has to play Duke twice down the stretch. So there's that. But the reality of that, hey, you have the toughest schedule remaining in the ACC, is why those 3 losses that, gosh, I don't want to say you shouldn't have lost any of them, because it happens. You lose basketball games. I feel like you should have definitely won maybe 2 of those. And that's frustrating. Because now you would look at this and it's like, okay, this is tough, but Carolina right now is sitting at 8-1. We feel good about where things are at. Instead, it's 6-3. So now you got to do better in this stretch than you otherwise would have. And let me tell you that of Carolina's final 9 games, 7 of them are against teams that are currently in the top half of the conference. So a couple different ways to look at it. One way is to say, hey, what a great opportunity for the Tar Heels to go to work here. The other is, Carolina's 6-3 against, other than Virginia, teams in the bottom half of the conference. Yep, that's right. So we'll see. Can they rise to the occasion? Here's the schedule. This is not in chronological order. It's in current ACC standings order. So Carolina plays Duke twice, home and road. The home game is the one coming up this Saturday. They host Clemson, who's currently 2nd. They are at NC State, who's currently tied for 3rd with Virginia. They are at Miami, who's currently tied for 5th with Carolina. They host Louisville, who's 7th. They host Virginia Tech, who's 8th. They're at Syracuse, who's 11th. Carolina just played them. And then they host Pitt. And that's like the one reprieve because that game's at home and Pitt right now is dead last in the ACC standings. But you see, Carolina has a lot of work to do in these final 9 games. You cannot afford to mess around. Like the game at Syracuse, the game hosting Pitt, maybe even Virginia Tech, you have to win those basketball games. Oh, man, it's going to be tough sledding, but that's where things stand. You got 4 road games, 5 at home. That's good news as well. But gosh, I don't think if Carolina wants to be a top 4 seed in the ACC tournament, I don't think they can take more than 2 more losses the rest of the way. So you probably got to go 7-2. That's just guessing, but that's what I believe. We'll see. Now, beyond the ACC tournament, as we start thinking about bracketology, things look to be in much better shape this year than last. And I mean that both for North Carolina as a team, and I mean it for the ACC as a whole. Last year, right, skin of their teeth, the Tar Heels get in. There's a lot of debate about whether they should have or not. That's not the purpose of today's conversation. But Carolina made it in. They were one of just 4 ACC teams to be in last year's tournament. NCAA tournament. That is unbueno. That's no good. Thankfully, things look to be a lot better right now. Joe Lunardi has 8 teams in his bracket, 8 ACC teams, and 2 others in his first 4 out. So that would be 10 kind of under consideration right now. Bracket Matrix is similar. They've got 9 ACC teams with a 10th just outside. So very, very similar. I'll give you Lunardi's seed lines for this. Duke is a 1 seed. The interesting thing is, at least for Lunardi, no other ACC teams are a top 4 seed right now. So it's great to have Duke representing in that big way. If I don't like to talk positively, but you hear my point. But after that, the next best seed for Lunardi for an ACC team is Virginia at 5th, and then Carolina, Louisville, Clemson all tied with a 6th seed. NC State 8, although that might change after last night's win in Dallas. SMU 9 also might change after that win in Dallas. And he has Miami as one of the last 4 buys and as an 11 seed. Lunardi has Virginia Tech and Cal amongst the first 4 out of the bracket right now. So lots of opportunity for Virginia Tech and Cal to do some of that work. And Cal's got some nice wins. They beat Carolina. They beat, and that was at home for them. They just beat Miami on the road last weekend. So Cal's building up a little bit of a resume for themselves here, and that's really good. Bracket Matrix obviously has a couple differences, but basically the similar thing there, and that's that. ESPN always puts out a bracket watch where they go conference by conference looking at locks, teams that should be in, teams that still have work to do, and then long shots. I'll go reverse order on that in case you haven't seen it and you want to catch it. The long shot is Stanford. Is the only one he's got on there right now. Teams that have work to do, Miami and Cal and Virginia Tech. That checks out. That makes sense. Should be in is both NC State and SMU. I would say that NC State took a nice big step toward more lock status on Tuesday night, winning at SMU. And then the locks that ESPN has right now for the NCAA tournament are Duke, Virginia, Louisville, Carolina, and Clemson. Now, here's the thing for me. I don't like that verbiage because in order for something to be truly a lock, there is nothing that could happen that would stop you. Let's say that, good grief, please not happen. But let's say Carolina lost each of their final 9 games of the regular season and their ACC tournament game. They wouldn't make it. So I don't agree with that lock word, right? But fine, whatever. Carolina's a lock. Love it. They just need to keep taking care of business down the stretch, and they are in the NCAA tournament. And it's great because this year it's not about in or out. It's about how good of a seed can we get. They've already set themselves on that trajectory, and that feels like a breath of fresh air. Thank you all so much for being with me here on a Wednesday. If you haven't subscribed to Locked on Tar Heels on video and audio, do it right now so you don't miss a second of the show. If you haven't checked out the brand new Everydayers Club, do it. That link's in the show notes, lockedontarheels.supercast.com. And if you haven't checked out and joined our Locked on Tar Heels Discord, we would love to see you in there, man. It's a great place to be. People hanging out all the time, day and night, talking Tar Heels, and you can be one of those as well. You guys, it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll be back with you on tomorrow's show, start talking some Duke stuff. But until then, peace.